Chair, it's been a busy year for the International Committee. We face uncertainty around the Brexit negotiations, protecting the rights of overseas colleagues, and the wider impact of health security. Our work to identify the significant challenges facing the medical profession and health services in the UK and Europe has allowed us to develop constructive relationships across the political spectrum in both areas. We have reinforced our credibility as the authoritative voice on the impact of Brexit on the health sector. The tireless work by our teams in the UK and Europe has ensured that health and workforce is kept high on the agenda during negotiations. Whilst the government has been tied in knots over Brexit, we have continued to fight on behalf of our colleagues from overseas. Here are some of the human stories which reflect the challenges they have faced. For example, the case of Dr. Luke Ong, a trainee originally from Singapore who studied and trained in the UK. He was refused the right to remain because his application to the Home Office was received 18 days late. As a result, he faced having to leave the country. This is where we stepped in and wrote directly to the Home Office to highlight the inflexibilities in the system and to ask them to reconsider his case so he could continue to work here. We argued that a competent and skilled doctor who has dedicated himself to a career in the NHS should not have to face deportation because of an honest oversight. We were pleased that they finally saw sense and allowed him to remain. Our second story is about a doctor originally from India, denied the chance to work in child and adolescent psychiatry, a specialty with serious recruitment issues, because the cap on Tier 2 visas had been reached. She was selected at interview but was told over 2 consecutive months that she would not be able to start her post. The impact on the doctor has been considerable, as you can imagine. She was one of many affected by the government's arbitrary cap on Tier 2 visas. We knew of at least 2,000 doctors over the 5 months who had been unable to start their posts in the NHS. The BMA lobbied the government relentlessly until about 2 weeks ago when they announced that the cap on doctors and nurses would be removed. This is a major win for our members. International doctors make a vital contribution to the NHS, and they are valued members of our medical workforce. Our third story involves the training program director concerned that the sponsorship licensing process is too complex and costly and discourages GP practices from recruiting non-EU doctors. This is leaving some GPs who have just completed their training particularly vulnerable. We have heard of doctors unable to start their posts because of delays with the sponsorship process. Some have been forced to switch reluctantly from general practice to other specialties rather than risk issues with their visa. We have been lobbying NHS England to become the umbrella sponsor for all GP practices. We have also been working with them to include general practice on the shortage occupation list, which would make vacant positions more accessible to non-EU GPs trained in the UK and overseas. The BMA supports doctors with immigration issues through our Immigration Advice Service, which not only assists individual members, but helps inform our policy work, and so gives us the evidence to lobby government to make changes. I want to mention the wider issues of global health, where our work continues on projects such as antimicrobial resistance, ethical procurement, and doctors as volunteers. It is through this last initiative that we help UK doctors access opportunities to volunteer overseas and use their valuable skills to help communities in low-resource settings. We have an established support package for refugee doctors. Since 2017, we have had 61 new joiners to the Refugee Doctors Initiative, mainly from countries such as Libya and Syria. This is no surprise, given the continuing crisis in those areas. We're truly proud of the work we do to support refugee doctors who can make a valuable contribution to the NHS. All this would not have been possible without the dedicated individuals we have in the International and Immigration Department. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Arthi Hartwell, our head of department, and all her team at BMA House, Susan Ball, our Brexit lead, and Paul Laffin and his team at the BMA European Office. The BMA is here to represent all our members, and as we face the upcoming international dilemmas, this is more important than ever. We will continue to address all the challenges that confront us, and we call for your support in facing the battles that lie ahead. Chair, I move.
Thank you very much, Terry.